Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening, everyone. It's the final good evening of the season. It's the final round of the Apex Online Racing Hyper Energy F3 League, and we come to Brazil, the scene of the thrilling title deciders. And, well, when all of the races probably that have been the title deciders are the ones that you remember, obviously, and also the races that Ayrton Senna won it back in the 90s, especially this one in 1991. Anyways, 4.3 kilometers of a track, big difference in terms of the elevation. 41 meters is the elevation change here, and this long section out of turn 12 up into turn 1 is probably the most the fastest, obviously, section of the circuit. 18 minutes of qualifying and 36 final laps of the season. This is how it looks like. And obviously the tires, the hardest tires this season, with the softest compound being the C3 compound, I think, and the hardest one being the C1 compound. You can see this classic Ayrton Senna car. I think I'll leave this to show the lap here. I think I'm not going to leave it because this is as classic as it gets, indeed. Going into the Interlagos, there's turn 4. Someone is trying really to, I don't know, distract me from everything. But yeah, anyways, that's not important. Also, yeah, we're coming back to what is going on. I don't know what to do really, because I'm a little bit surprised, but anyways, let this lap finish. We're going down through turn 11 into turn 12, and this long uphill section will begin, and as soon as this onboard is finished, I will switch it, even quicker as it seems. That is really good for me. Okay, so this, and we are at the circuit. 8.5 minutes to go. And well, MDCO, the fastest one in this session. Only 15 drivers actually have managed to come. So the attendance has been a little bit worse. A little bit worse than expected. But, I mean, yeah. It's not too bad. 15 drivers, I mean, remember last season, especially the season finale, there was like 10 drivers in it, which wasn't the best, but we have 15 drivers, it's okay. Fire jumps into P2 at the moment, 1 minute 8.1, and that is good enough for P3. AM also now in P3, I'm sorry, Fire in P2 obviously, and AM is just a little bit quicker than Flash. Actually, there was a fight between Williams and McLaren for the Constructors title, but I think it's now won by McLaren. I may be wrong though, because those tables keep switching. But yeah, Anyways, who is going to finish this lap any minute now? I think Tudor is finishing. Also, you can see that Jackal-Jack has been disqualified from quali. Apparently, his AI car decided to smash into the wall, exiting the pit, like actually exiting the garage, which, as you can imagine, is a little bit weird, but it has happened. I think I've seen it happening before as well, so it's not that sort of new. Fire and AM are coming into the pit lane, so maybe the Mercedes of Borb is going to set a quick lap time. Yes, indeed, that's a very quick lap time. 1 minute 8.2, good enough for P3. Just behind him we have Pantaleev, but he is on an out lap. Maybe Tudor, because he is on a flying lap, but he's on mediums. Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one, actually. So he's lost the rear coming out of turn 12, and somehow he's still going in this session. He's still going to be sort of okay in this session, but yeah, that's not the best. Sky Kartoffel. That is good enough for P6. Just behind him there was a Williams of MDCO starting another quick lap. Also the Red Bull of A-It's-B. actually made his debut last week. Actually, I wasn't last week here, which isn't the best thing that you can imagine, but well, I was sort of caught by a surprise that I couldn't attend this race last week, but I think I've done enough races this season, and sometimes I can be caught by a surprise, and you know, no one has to cry about it. There was a yellow flag somewhere, but I don't know why. And Pantaleev, actually, he hasn't really improved. He's still in 9th. There is a Williams of MDCO coming round the final corner. He's down on his previous best after 2 sectors, so maybe this is going to be a little bit better, or maybe is he going to lose even more time? No, he improves by 19, well, 20 even thousandths of a second. Also, Vegas starts another lap. A-It's-B, he is coming into the pit lane. Now it's time for Flash, but he's going slowly. He's coming into the pit lane, so maybe the Renault of Fox is... oh, okay, he's starting another lap, so that's not him as well. Also, there is Oxygen, but he's on an out lap, and looks like Pantaleev, maybe he is improving because he's quicker by 0.2 of a second. 0.2 of a second will give him around P7, but he comes into the pit lane, so he doesn't improve on this lap as well. MDCI, I think, yes, he's coming to the pits, so we can see that Vegas, he is on a quick lap, or no, he has actually aborted his attempt as well. Yes, that's very slow actually, so maybe let's see how is Fox going. He seems to be going slowly as well. I have this weird feeling. Yes, he's going slowly. So, yeah, no one really improving. The track got quieter at the moment. 3.5 minutes to go to the end of the final qualifying session in the season 19. BenQ up into, well, not up into PA because he started another lap. We have Oxygen just behind, but he also started another lap. No, he actually improved by a little bit. He's up in 7th, but as I said, he only improved by a little bit. Oxygen, not Oxygen, Fox now actually going on a quick lap, but he was down by 0.2 of a second, and that's a big moment, so I think he will abort this lap as well. So maybe BenQ, because he is in 8th, a little bit stuck there. Going through the middle sector now. Let's see the comparison in a minute. Wow, That's a good improvement after 2 sectors, 0.2 of a second, 0.2 of a second. That will actually give him even P4, yellow flag in sector 2. Someone's going slowly. Vegas has retired from the session, but he does that in the pit lane, and BenQ only jumps into P7. So these 0.2 of a second only gave him this one spot instead of many more spots. Meanwhile, Fox starts another lap. One of the Mercedes is also starting another lap. Same with It's B. So maybe, you know, Fire is actually going to start another lap as well. Same as Pantaleev here. Both Williams drivers are closely close to each other on the track, but they are also on the out lap, same as Sky Kartoffel. So BenQ really should be the leading car, but he is on a cooldown lap. Yellow flag in sector 2 because Malkin is, no, that's not Malkin, that's Borb actually, who's letting everyone through. So Fox is the first car who will finish a quick lap here, a little bit wide here in turn 10. There is another yellow flag in sector 2, probably because Borb is going slowly again. Now Fox, oh, that's a bit of a corner cut really, so yeah, I think it looks like he's aborting this attempt, and the question is, he's coming in the pit lane, so that's the end of the qualifying session for him. So now time for Malkin. He will definitely improve, but by how much? Up into P4. That's a very good lap. Now it's Borb who will cross the line, but he's not getting any sort of lap time, same as AM. Maybe it's time for Fire to improve, and he goes into pole position. It's B. He's still in 11th, and one of the Toro Rossos, that's Pantaleev, up in 5th place. Now it's time for MDCO. He has improved a lot, and he's going into the pole position. Yes, indeed. He is now on pole by 31 thousandths of a second ahead of Fire. Now time for Flash. How much? It's asking improve. He goes into P4. Just behind him, one of the Alfa Romeos, that's Sky Kartoffel, up in 5th place. The checkered flag is out. Who is going to finish the lap the first? It's going to be BenQ, but that one's a little bit slower. Flash has retired down on the track, but he was actually the final car on the track. BenQ stays in 9th. 2 Mercedes are going slowly, so they are not going to improve. Let's see at Tudor. He is in 14th now, and he goes up into 11th. AM up into 6th, so that's a good improvement from him. It's B. How much does he improve? He stays in 12th. So we're still waiting for Pantaleev, who's coming to the pit lane, and that will be it, I think. Because Sky Kartoffel is going slowly. MDCO is going slowly. So yes, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final qualifying session of the season, as I've said before, and MDCO takes another pole position this season. 1 minute 7.876. That's more than 1/10 of a second faster than Fire, who took second. Then we have Bob, Flash, Sky Kartoffel, and AM. So those are the front 3 rows of the grid. We'll have a little bit of a break, well, sort of break. We're waiting. Yes, we have waited long enough, and now it's time for the big race, or the final race. All of the championships have been secured. That's not the moment to say that. MDCO ahead of Fire, then Bob, Flash, Sky Kartoffel, AM in the 6th, Malkin 7th, then Pantaleev, BenQ, Oxygen, Tudor, It's B, Fox, Vegas, and Jackal Jack has been disqualified from this session. He will start from 15. I think no one else is going to join us, so that is all. Those 15 drivers will race in a second. We're waiting still for the drivers to load up to the grid. 20 seconds to go. So I think that's time to, to maybe remind you about the standings. Rainbow is the champion, obviously. He is the champion in 192 points. MDCO is second with 118 points. He is probably going to stay in second because Jackal Jack needs to outscore him by 22 points will do, I think. So basically Jackal Jack needs to win this race in order to stay in the fight for the second place in the standings. Then we have Flash in fourth, actually. He is 11 points behind Jackal Jack's. Pantaleev is in fifth. He's 16 points behind Jackal Jack, and the Fire is in sixth, also 16 points behind Jackal Jack. Leto is in seventh, but he's out of the fight for third place. He's not in the race as well, unfortunately. Then AM in eighth. Maybe he will fight for that P7. Maybe, yeah, P8 is too far away from him. Then Partek in 9th, Flex's Marcy in 10th, Marp in 11th, Oxygen in 12th, Sky Kartoffel, Black Panther, and so on and so forth. In terms of the team's championship, it's McLaren 50 points ahead of Williams and 86 ahead of Toro Rosso. Ferrari is on 134 points behind McLaren in 4th, and Racing Point is 5th. Haas is the final team with only 31 points, 212 less than McLaren. And now it's time to see the tire compound. So the top 10 starts in softs. Also ASB and Fox will do the same. Tudor and Jackal Jack, so two Ferraris will start on mediums, and Vegas is the only one to start on hard tires. 36 laps. This is the race distance. Let's hope that the final 36 laps of the season are as incredible as the previous races. So the lights are on. And now they're out, and away we go for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Who is going to get a better start? I think there is a great start by Toro Rosso, but he's already in the wall. That was, I think, Pantaleev. But Flash jumped into P3. There is a yellow flag. And a Alfa Romeo round in turn 1. That is Sky Kartoffel. Let's go back to the top. Looks like Flash is trying to maybe make a move on MDCO, but he couldn't make it stick. Fire is third, then Borb, then AM, and then Malkin ahead of BenQ, and I think that's Oxygen. Yes, that's Oxygen AM. He was trying to make a move on Borb into turn. Now he does it. Is he going to make that move stick? He will need to switch it around the outside in turn 9, and I think that's the moment when he realized that this move is not going to go well, at least right now. Tudor up into 9th and Jackal Jack up into 12th. Also Tudor a little bit wide in turn 11, but that's okay. Pantaleev and Sky Kartoffel, they both had problems in the opening lap. They are at the back of the field, and DCO sets the fastest lap of the race. That's obvious because he was the first driver to cross the line on that lap. Pantaleev is going into the pit lane because he's lost half of his front wing. Remember, in that starting incident, that's why he is already in the pit lane. And you can see there's a long train of cars. Actually, everyone is quite close to each other, even to Jackal Jack, who was actually trying to make a move on Fox, but couldn't make it stick. So he's still in 12th. Then Vegas a little bit further behind, and Sky Kartoffel is second behind Vegas. Already you can see that MDCO is trying to build a gap over his teammate. 1.1 seconds. Actually, it's very important to break the DRS. That's what MDCO is now doing, not to give DRS to his teammate so he can even extend his advantage. And well, that sort of puts Flash in a worse position because he will not have the DRS. Meanwhile, Fire, Borb, everyone, well, as I've said, up until Jackal Jack, they will all have the DRS. Jackal Jack is now trying to maybe make a move on Fox. DRS is now enabled. MDCO sets the fastest lap and Jackal Jack tries to send it down the inside, but he made a contact with Fox and he stays. Well, he also almost spun around, but he stays in 12th. That's the most important thing out of this. Also, Sky Kartoffel now ahead of Vegas, so seems like the soft tires are still giving a good enough grip, I would say. AM now almost a second ahead of Malkian, so he also seems to break the DRS toe behind him. He is very close to Borb and to Fire and to Flash. Right now we seem to be set for a Williams 1-2, but looks like the McLaren is going to spoil the party. Also a Mercedes and also a Force India. Everyone is basically going to have a shot on the podium. Looks like Fire is already ahead of Flash. Yes, indeed. But Fire runs a little bit wide into turn 1, but he has the inside into turn 2. Now he is just ahead of Flash, but Flash will have the DRS now. Fire goes defensive into turn 4. Will Flash try to send it down the inside? No, he thinks otherwise. He thinks that he's not going to send anything right now, at least. See that, but BenQ going wide and losing a position to Tudor. Maybe even to A, it's B, but he will have to go around the outside in turn 8. I'm sorry, in turn 6. And that's where he thinks that it's not the moment really to do that. Also AM fighting with Borb for P4. He tried to go around the outside in turn 9, but he couldn't. Also looked like Borb got a little bit sideways on that braking, and well, he held on to it. It also invites Malkin to join the party here, so now AM is in a little bit of a Mercedes sandwich with a McLaren filling, and also both of them have the DRS, but looks like Malkin is a little bit quicker. He will go to send another dive bomb, maybe. No, not a dive bomb, but he was going to try and move down the inside in turn 1, but he doesn't make that move stick. Oxygen is in 7th. He leads the second group of cars. Now it's Tudor who maybe try to overtake Oxygen around the outside in turn 4, but he is a little bit wide. Also a little bit sideways exiting that corner. He stays in 8th, although maybe into A turn 6. No, he's not going to make any move there as well. Now AM lost a little bit of ground to Borb and to the group in front of him. He has also Malkian very close, but oh, actually very close, because he has his front wing inside really of AM's rear wing, but they are still quite close together. Now it's time for Malkin to make another move on AM, because AM is 0.8 of a second behind Borb. He has a DRS, but he doesn't really have the toe behind the Mercedes. So maybe now Malkin will try to go down the inside, but he also is a little bit too far behind the McLaren. So they all stay in that same order. Tudor tried to make a move on Oxygen, but he couldn't make it stick. So maybe BenQ will try to make a move on both of them. Tudor goes through on Oxygen. Is BenQ going to go through on the Alfa Romeo as well? No, he runs horribly wide, and actually Oxygen ran a little, Tudor ran a little bit wide, but he will have the inside in turn 6, and that gives him that position, so he's up into P7. Looked like Jackal Jack also ran it wide. You can see this long train actually all the way to Fox, so he's what, in P12, and if they are going to fight that hard, that will invite Sky Kartoffel as well. He will be just behind them. He's on soft tires, so yeah, it's a very interesting train. You can see that MDCO is already 3 seconds up ahead of Fire. That hasn't changed for quite a few laps now. But Fire, Flash, Borb, AM and Malkian are in that first train. Then we have Oxygen and Tudor. Oxygen tried to maybe go around the outside into turn 1, but he couldn't, and now Tudor goes round the outside into turn 2, and he has the inside in turn 3, but now he will have to go extremely defensive into turn 4, maybe run Oxygen wide, maybe he needs to close the door on BenQ as well. Oxygen tries to run it wide through turns 4 and 5. He will have the inside in turn 6, but he is behind Tudor. So some good defensive stuff from Tudor. As I've said, Pantaleev gets a 3-second time penalty. Sky Kartoffel joined that party, so it's going to get even more interesting. Borb now, he is half a second behind Flash. Half a second, that's not really much, is it? But I think that also, well, Flash is actually almost a second behind Fire, but that's almost. That's not over a second, that's almost a second, so that means he will still have the DRS, and he will at least have a little bit better top speed. That obviously denies Borb any sort of attacking position. Fox and A, it's B, so that's a fight for P11. Fox is ahead. There was a little bit of contact, I think, because AHB almost stopped on the track, but he is up. But Fox is up in 11th, and look at that, BenQ. I think there was a contact between him and Jackal Jack, and now you can see that Tudor also is running horribly wide. BenQ is actually going all the way to Sao Paulo, and he also tries to cover Sky Kartoffel, but lets him through. I think there was a slight contact on the straight between Jackal Jack and BenQ. That led to BenQ hitting that wall and losing his front wing, so I think he will have to come into the pit lane and change that front wing, unfortunately. And that, as I've said, that left Jackal Jack in 9th. Also, you can see that in Tudor, he actually ran wide in turn 4. That's why he is down in 8th again. And Fox actually up in 10th. Very good race so far from the Renault driver. Vegas is close to BenQ, but BenQ decides to come into the pit lane. I'm not surprised about that at all, because this front wing damage is terrible. And now Borb, 0.3 of a second behind Flash. He seems to have better pace than the Williams at the moment. You know that not so far ago we were talking about a 1-2 for Williams, but right now this Williams is under a threat of losing that 3rd place on the podium, because he's over a second behind Fire. So it seems like Fire has finally broken the DRS behind him, but let's still wait. Going through turn 12, the DRS detection though is in the halfway between turns 12 and 13, I think, and that's why. Now you can see that Flash doesn't have the DRS, and Borb indeed has it. And is he going to go down the inside into turn 1? No, he tried to maybe brake later, maybe run round the outside, but he couldn't. It's B now is coming into the pit lane. So the round of pit stops has started. Now Tudor is ahead of Oxygen, but let's go back to Borb and Flash. Also, that allows AM to close up on them, but Flash stays in 3rd. You can see that Vegas and BenQ have chosen to run hard tires. Meanwhile, Pantaleev decided to run softs. Meanwhile, to the rounds again. I think no, that was actually Oxygen running ground wide. I'm sorry, I'm losing words. Basically, yes, but he was running wide in turn 4. That allowed Tudor and Jackal Jack and Fox to close up to them, so this is going to be even more interesting. Flash, he is now, I think, inside the DRS window, just inside the DRS window behind Fire. Yes, he has the DRS, so that also means that Borb unfortunately loses that advantage that he had a lap ago. BenQ gets a time penalty, 3-second time penalty. Is anyone coming to the pit lane from this group? No, definitely not. Oxygen now trying to make yet another move on Tudor. Is Tudor going to force him wide? No, he doesn't really force him wide, but that's not in turn 1, maybe into turn 4, because you can see that Oxygen will have a huge overspeed on Tudor, but is he going to go wide again in turn 5? Of course he's going, but Tudor leaves him just enough space. Meanwhile, Fox actually is trying to make a move on Jackal Jack round the outside in turn 6. He goes for it. And I think he's going to make it stick, although he brakes earlier, and that allows Sky Kartoffel to close in on them. That's a great scrap between all of them. And Tudor is still in 7th. Actually, Tudor is 8 seconds behind Malkin. That's a big pace difference. I think now Flash won't have the DRS. Flash now actually is coming to the pit lane. That's a very early stop, but that's what AM also does, so maybe an undercut from them. Is Oxygen going to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap? No, I don't think so. Actually, no one apart from AM and Flash decided to come into the pit lane at the end of that lap. And looks like Flash will be out ahead of AM, so no changes there. AM on mediums, Flash on hards. Meanwhile, how does this little fight look like? Is it going to be Jackal Jack maybe going around the outside on Oxygen? Oxygen tried to send it down the inside in the turn 4, but there was no space to try it. Jackal Jack is a little bit too far behind to maybe try another move, so he stays in 7th. Oxygen is a little bit sideways out of 6, but he stays there. He stays in P6. Borb gets a 3-second time penalty. He's 1.5 seconds behind Fire. The question is really, does he have better pace than the Racing Point driver? We don't know, but we do know that MDCO has decided to come into the pit lane. Fire is extending his stint because Borb comes into the pit lane. Malkin stays out. Obviously, 2 Ferraris will stay out as well. Oxygen doesn't think about coming to the pit lane. Same as Fox, same as Sky Kartoffel. Jackal Jack has left the session, so that is a disconnect, seemingly. Mediums for MDCL, for Borb, and for AM. AM again in the pit lane. And BenQ retired from the session. So there was a fight between them. There is a safety car out. And that played brilliantly into Fire's hands, because he will now pit, he will change tires, and he will probably still be in the lead. Although we all know that MDCO seems to be the one with the best pace. MDCO gets a 5-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flag. Oh, that is interesting. I am almost sure that AM had a scrap with BenQ, and that resulted in BenQ not finishing this race. Fire, obviously he's coming to the pit lane. That's a no-brainer, isn't it? He will come in, adjust the right speed. What will be the tires he is going to choose? They are going quite quickly on that back straight, but now mediums for Malkin. Now there's a train of cars coming in, and that will lead Tudor in the lead. And also MDCO, is he going to stay in the lead, or is it going to be Fire ahead of him? This is going to get crazy between them, but MDCO stays in the lead. But crucially, Fire is just behind him on a little bit fresher tire, and this also leaves Tudor, as I've said, in that lead. A&B got a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So MDCO in 2nd, Fire 3rd, Borb in 4th, and Malkin in 5th. Then Oxygen in 6th, the Fox is up in 7th. Jackal Jack, or maybe his AI car, unfortunately. Flash also leaves the session, unfortunately. Wow, he was actually for the 2nd time in the pit lane. And he is now in 11th. He has joined, actually. So yeah, Jackal Jack stays in 8th, or maybe he's AI car. That leaves Vegas in 9th and AM in 10th. And Flash, maybe he will try to retake the control over his car. I think he has done it, so that's good for him, but he is now in 11th. Sky Kartoffel in 12th, then Pantaleev in 13th, and AHB in 14th. And AHB gets another time penalty, this time for multiple warnings. This is going to be the first lap behind the safety car. We are going another lap behind this Mercedes with a little bit different order, but as I've said earlier, MDCO somehow managed to stay out in the lead. Only just, but he managed to stay there. That's why Fire is in 3rd. Well, provisionally, that's net 2nd place, but that's only net 2nd place. You can see that MDCO is actually slowing down the field, dramatically even, because that's, well, I think that's more than 10 car lengths behind Tudor. And I'm not sure you're allowed to do so, because, well, you're allowed to stay within 10 car lengths behind the next car during the safety car. And the gap that he built earlier, that wasn't 10 car lengths, 10 car lengths, I think, but he has sort of prescribed time to make the gap smaller. I think everyone has joined the back of the back now. I've taken a long sip of water, so I'm ready for the final 21 laps, because the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. The question is, can Tudor get a jump on everyone else? Can he survive at the front of the field on those really old medium tires? Can MDCO actually overtake Tudor as soon as it's possible? And can Fire maybe surprise Tudor? I think MDCO, I'm sorry, but I think that it's Bob who is going to surprise Fire into turn 1, and he does that move. He makes it stick, even no, he doesn't, because Fire runs him wide. There was a contact between them, and that allows Malkian to get a brilliant round, a brilliant run, I'm sorry, out of turn 3, but that doesn't make any difference because they stay in that same order. But MDCO gets a great jump on all of them because he's already 1.2 seconds ahead of Fire. Brilliant restart. Fox is in 7th and Jackal Jack down in 14th. Well, actually, that's his AI car. Now there is also ASB fighting with Pantaleev with a little bit of contact. Let's go back to the top, really, because Tudor actually stays. He stays out in the lead, and he doesn't really have that bad pace at the moment. The question is really, can MDCO clear him on that lap? Can he overtake Tudor into turn 1 or not? Fire is in 3rd, but let's really see, is MDCO going to run around the outside in turn 1? I think he's not going to do it, but he now have the outside in turn 2, but he still is behind Tudor, so maybe he will get a better run onto this straight. He will have to go the longer way around the Ferrari, but Tudor defends really well. And now that, well, that was wide from MDCO. He has to let Tudor through, and that means that Fire has closed down on MDCO. Tudor is not letting anyone else through, and looks like also Flash lost a place to Vegas into turn 5, maybe into turn 6. Let's go back to the top, really, because Fire is just behind MDCO, and that was Barb who got this braking a little bit too late. That allows Malkin around the outside in turn 10. He will have the inside in 11 and in 12, and actually in all of the corners up to the end of this lap, but it's still Borb who is ahead. Let's go back to these two. DRS is still not available, so if Tudor stays ahead of MDCO, the DRS is available right Now, Fox gets a 3-second time penalty. DRS enabled. This is a crucial information, and that's Fox round out of turn 1, and the fairy tale is over. MDCO, he can't really go past Tudor. Tudor is defending brilliantly. He's still there. He's still at the front. Meanwhile, Flash ahead of Vegas. Although Vegas tries to go around the outside, but he can't. And Sky Kartoffel is in 10th, but he still stays there. Let's go back to these three, because Tudor is an unexpected threat to MDCO. MDCO doesn't really have any pace on those medium tires if he can't go past Tudor. Although you can see the difference in the ERS deployment between them. Tudor will soon have no battery whatsoever. Maybe he will pit at the end of that lap. Well, not that lap, but the lap that his battery is over. So it will be shortly, and there was a contact between them. MDCO went round the outside, but now Tudor will have the DRS. He will have a lot better run on MDCO, but will he go around the outside in turn 4? I don't think so. Fox gets a 5-second time penalty, and Tudor went round the outside. Fox retires from the session, unfortunately, but he does that in the pit lane. He's out of the race, but he is fine. Everything is fine. Flash is ahead of AM, and Oxygen is actually 6th. So between we have two groups. We have this first group very, very close to each other, between the between the leader and the 5th place. There is, you can see, 1.5 seconds. That is really close, as you can expect. Will Tudor have enough battery to maybe stay at the front for another lap, or is he going to come in the pit lane? AM and Vegas, they are fighting for 8th. But I don't care about them a little bit at the moment, because I have these guys. MDCO, he has so much overspeed on Tudor. I think now it's done and dusted. No, it isn't! And Tudor runs really deep. And that allows, well, where is MDCO going? He cut the second corner indeed. And what did MDCO, what did Tudor do here? Wow, that was wild. He hit his front wing into the wall that is separating the pit exit and the track. Wow, this race is wild. Flash is now going through on Tudor, because Tudor doesn't have a half of his front wing. But now MDCO will not have the DRS. Fire will have. This is a lot different situation than it was at the beginning of the race. Remember that MDCO built a good enough gap over Flash in 2 laps before the DRS was available. Now he couldn't build the same. Gap over Fire. So now Fire can stay behind MDCO, try to conserve his fuel, his tires, his ERS deployment, and now he will, well, not now, but he could be in a great position to attack MDCO at the end of the race. This is a really different dynamic to what we've had before. Tudor came into the pit lane. He has soft tires. Sky Kartoffel and Pantaleev are fighting for P7. Actually, AM also came into the pits. Again, he's on softs as well. He's ahead of Tudor though. So they will both try to maybe catch the end of the top 10, maybe to catch some points. But is it going to be possible? I doubt it a little bit, but maybe it's going to be possible. You can see that MDCO has better pace. Generally speaking, he has a better pace than Fire, but Fire will have the DRS, and that is a huge advantage in this game. Remember, this DRS is a huge advantage, and that's why you can see the rate at which he is going quick. And Malkian takes the fastest lap of the race, actually going by 1,000th of a second quicker than MDCO on this past lap. Although remember that MDCO He didn't have the DRS to his help, and Malkian did have. So you can see the difference between the raw pace of MDCO and of anyone else, really. MDCO is the fastest car here, but because everyone else has the DRS, that is the difference. That makes the difference. That's why they are still just behind him. Now AM actually set the fastest lap of the race and gets a 3-second time penalty, because why not? Actually, you can see I haven't talked about it earlier, but you can see that it's his 200th league start, which is a great milestone. Congratulations for that, AM. Quite a few good races this season, but this one isn't one of those good races. But let's go back to the race. 7/10 between MDCO and Fire at the moment. Well, you can see that Fire opens up the DRS, and now he gets what, 2/10 back? Yes, gains 2/10 on that straight. A, it's B, and Pantaleev. Pantaleev is behind A, it's B, so that was a fight for P9, I think. Now Fire, he lost a little bit to MDCO. Let's see the difference between them when we exit turns 4 and 5. Half a second. So that is, I think, 2/10 more than it was last lap. But you can really see that MDCO will pull a gap in this middle sector. That's where he is way quicker than anyone else. And he needs to get over this magical 1 second barrier, but he doesn't really do that now. 6/10, sometimes 7, but that's all. That really is all, I think. Borb is just behind Fire, but that's half a second, so that's a little bit too far behind to make a move. 7/10 between Fire and MDCO. That is still well inside the DRS window, and that is still a good advantage for Fire, I think. Unfortunately for MDCO, lap number 24 out of 36. That is still a third of the race to go. Vegas gets a 3-second time penalty. You can, as I've said, that's still a third of the race to go, which means we can see a lot of action still in this race. 6/10 now between MDCO and Fire. They are going through this middle sector. That's where MDCO builds the gap. Remember, that's where he builds that gap. But now half a second. Half a second is, well, definitely too little. And he still is out there. ASB actually is also having a great pace, because he's half a second behind Sky Kartoffel, so maybe he will come into P7, maybe, who knows. Fire, meanwhile, 7/10 ahead, yeah. He's 6/10 ahead of Borb and 6/10 behind MDCO, but obviously now he's gaining a lot in that straight, because he has the DRS. Easy as that. 6/10 now between Fire and MDCO as we go around turn 3, and well, it really now reminds a little bit of a game of chess, really, a game of racing chess. So they are trying to maybe close down on MDCO. They're trying to maintain his speed, and Sky Kartoffel goes out. Well, almost out of the race. He somehow stays there. He's in 10th now. He will have to come into the pit lane, and Pantaleev does the same. So both of them had made mistakes essentially in the same corner. And both of them will lose a lot of time. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we don't have any safety car. That's Pantaleev actually. Has he stopped on the track? No, he's... Okay, he ran wide. Like, horribly wide. Okay, interesting. Still a yellow flag in Sector 2. Fire was what? And a virtual safety car is out, because Pantaleev decided that enough is enough and it's time to retire from the session. He actually did that on the circuit. I don't know why, but he decided that it's the best thing to do. Meanwhile, you can see the gap between MDCO and Fire. That is actually a lot. That actually is a lot. That's a big, big gap. Although I think Fire slowed down just as the virtual safety car came up. And that allowed MDCO, well, because MDCO didn't slow down at that same moment, he slowed down later. That allowed him to build that gap. But I was going to say that Fire was now 8 tenths behind MDCO, so still 2 tenths below that magical 1 second bar. Yeah, Skykartoffel and Tudor are again in the pit lane, so that leaves AM in 10th. Meanwhile, Fire 8 tenths of a second behind MDCO. That's still good enough to get that sweet DRS advantage, but he's getting closer and closer to the point that he won't have that advantage. We're getting closer to the point that MDCO will be the leader of this race without a DRS using drivers behind him, which will give him some comfort zone. Flash now was really close to make a move on Oxygen, but, well, being close and making a move actually is, well, they are two different things, because you can see that Fire is close to MDCO, but he hasn't tried to make a move since a few laps at least. For a few laps at least. Half a second between them as we go through the middle sector. This is the place of the track where MDCO makes up a lot of time, but this time he didn't really make it up that time. There is only 6 tenths between them, so again I think that Fire is now a little bit quicker on that last lap than MDCO. That's good news for the Racing Point driver. Lap number 28 now, out of 36, so still 9 to go. That's a long way to go. Flash is getting closer to Oxygen and to Malkian, because Malkian doesn't have that pace to stay close to Borb and Fire, so they are all stuck in this fight for P4. And then we have ASB, who's really alone in this race now. Vegas in 8th, Jackal way down in 9th, although Jackal doesn't really count in this race because he's disconnected a long time ago now, so he will be counted as a DNF, so AM will be in 9th and Skykartoffel in 10th, Tudor in 12th then. Okie dokie. Let's go back to these. Let's go back to this slot. Really, 4 tenths between Borb and Fire. Now Fire, how much does he lose to MDCO on that on the DRS detection zone? 7 tenths. Still 7 tenths. Flash finally has made a move on Oxygen, although he's now going to make that move stick. I think he's going to make that move stick, although Oxygen tries to retake his P5, but he can. Borb gets a 3-second time penalty. A, it's B. He's coming to the pit lane again, and he has left the session. What happened there? I have no idea what happened there. I literally have no idea what happened there. Okay, so that is another sort of retirement. So we have AM up in 8th now. So a good recovery drive from him. But I wonder what happened to ASB. I wonder what happened there. The question is also, is he going to return or is he not? If he doesn't return, then obviously, well, Tudor now sets the fastest lap of the race. But obviously, if ASB doesn't rejoin the race, he will also be, well, he will also be disconnected from this race. So that means that everyone will get points, because Skykartoffel will be treated as the 9th driver of the race and Tudor will be treated as the 10th driver of the race. So really, everyone is eligible for points for fastest lap, which wasn't really the case this season. Not many drivers got points for actually setting the fastest lap of the race, because many of the drivers set the fastest lap when they had problems in the race, when they could just, you know, take on a set of softs at the end of the race and just go for it. Flash, 4 tenths of a second behind. Oh, man, DCO, what happened there? He lost a place to fire. I have no idea what happened there. I've lost it, unfortunately, for which I'm really sorry, but it looks like now MDCO all of a sudden has a lot worse pace than fire. I have no idea what happened. I literally have no idea what happened. 6 laps will be left in this race as they go past the finish line. The question is, who's going to win this race? As always, sometimes you could know that it was one of the drivers because he's been dominating, but MDCL was dominating tonight and we don't know if he's going to win because that safety car basically wiped out his lead. And now he couldn't break that DRS zone behind him. He must have made a mistake that allowed Fire to take the lead of this race, and now what? Now is he going to stay there in second? I think he's going to fight, obviously, but is he going to have enough power, enough in the tank to overtake Fire? This is the big question. Definitely he's close to attacking the Racing Point driver. The question is he really going to do it? Flash also is close to Malkin, so maybe there will be another change in P4, but definitely not now. It seems like MDCL now is getting quicker. He's going to make a move on Fire. Fire doesn't really fight with MDCL, and Borb braked really late, almost hit the back of Fire, but now you can see that it allows MDCO to streak ahead. He's 4/10 now ahead of ahead of Fire, obviously. But you can see in the background that Flash. Is he going to go around the outside in turn 4 and in turn 5? Is he going to go around the outside of Malkin? He will still have the inside in turn 6, and I think that will be good to take that place, but that's not it. Yeah, that's good. That is good to take that place. He's now up into 4th. The Malkin is in 5th, and I think will stay there. Although Oxygen is also very close to make a move on the Mercedes, but he's not making it. Fire 7/10 behind MDCO. It really looks like MDCO must have made a mistake because now his pace is good again. But it's not over till it's over, because Fire and Borb, they all have the DRS once again. 4 laps to go in this race. Flash is half a second ahead of Malkin, and Oxygen is also close to Malkin, close to make a move on the Mercedes. He's still there. You can't really forget about him as well. And now Malkin tries to tuck behind Flash on that run up into turn 4, but no changes there. Where is Sky Kartoffel? Sky Kartoffel is just behind AHB, or as we all know, an AI car. So yeah, AHB and Jackal Jack will not be classified in this race because they will not finish it. Simple as that. Half a second between Fire and MDCO. It's still going to be really close. Now we could see that Fire lost a little bit of distance coming out of turn 12, so maybe Borb is going to make a move on the Racing Point driver, but he is obviously not going to make that move. And Fire is still 6/10 of a second behind MDCO. 3 laps to go in this race. And as always, we still don't know who's going to win. Malkin now going around the outside in turn 4. Is he? No, he's not. So that allows Flash to stay in 4th. Yes, I think, because Malkin is just a little bit too far behind to make a move there. And Oxygen is just a good cameraman there. You can see he's a very good cameraman because he can see everything that's going on between Flash and Malkian. Let's go back to these three though. Half a second between each of them. Yellow flag in Sector 3, and that is Tudor. Yes, that's Tudor spinning a lot. AM gets a 3-second time penalty, but don't care about it at the moment. Borb is now going to make a move surely, because Fire has lost again a lot of time now. Borb going down the inside into turn 1. No, he can't really go there. 8 tenths between Fire and MDCO at the moment. 9 even. Make that 9. Make that almost a second, but he's still just behind MDCO. Less than 2 laps to go now. Malkian is going to go around the outside of Flash in turn 4, but will he maintain that position in turn 5? I think he will, and he will have the inside into turn 6. So now it's Malkian back and forth, but he runs a little bit wide here through 7, maybe through 8. No, it's Oxygen who tries to make a move on Flash, but there was no space there. 8 tenths between Fire and MDCO. I have a weird feeling it won't be the race for Fire. I think MDCO will be safe. But will Fire be safe in third? I have a weird feeling he won't be safe there. Final lap of the race starts now. Final lap of the season starts now. MDCO still in the lead. Fire is in second. Borb in third. Looks like now everyone is sort of safe in those positions. Flash tried to go around the outside in turn 1. The yellow flag in sector 1. That's a slow Tudor. So, fortunately, no weird actions between any drivers now. Malkian, is he going to go around the outside and turn 4 there? No. And also Oxygen very close to each one of them, but he won't overtake them. Yes, he won't. So it stays in the same order. Let's watch the final half a lap of MDCO, because it looks like he will hang on to the lead. He was dominating in qualifying and in early parts. After the safety car that wiped out his lead, he had to defend, and he defended really well. Made one mistake, but made up for it as soon as possible. MDCO wins the final race of the season. But no, it's Fire actually after penalties. Borb in third. Flash will be fourth, I think. Yes, Malkian fifth. Fifth for Oxygen. Sixth for Malkian. Seventh will be for, I think, Vegas. What happened to Tudor? Okay, he's making donuts after the season. 7th for Vegas. 8th for AM. He's slow, but he's going through that line. 9th for, for Sky Kartoffel, because Jackal Jack is out of this race, as we all know. So that's 9th for Sky Kartoffel. And 10th for Tudor. He's the final car on the track, so he really can make some donuts if he wants to. And that is a wrap. Or is it? Yeah, that is a wrap, obviously. Although, let Tudor do his donuts. Is he going to hit that wall? I don't think so. He's killed the engine. Very good. And yes, that is it. Tudor will be the 10th driver in this race, lapped by anyone else. He will also go through the finish lap, through the finish line on the reverse gear, in reverse. But who cares about it? That's a season ended in style. Wow. I mean, wow. Yeah, well, it looked good. Let's be honest, it looked good. Okay. Wow. Now, let's see the cutscene, and let's go to the race results. Just a second, and we will see what happened in terms of penalties, because I've really lost the count of them. Anyway, so it is actually fire. Who won that race after penalties? MDCO got a 1. Okay, MDCO got a 1 for ignoring yellow flags. Actually, that can be appealed, so maybe there will be a change of the winner. Watch out for that. Then Borb in 3rd, Flash in 4th, Oxygen 5th, Malkian 6th, Vegas 7th, AM 8th, 9th for Sky Kartoffel. I'm sorry, it's Sky Kartoffel 9th. And Tudor will be 10th. Jackal-Jack, AXB, Pantalei, Fox, and BenQ out of this race. That was a really good race to wrap up this season. An action-packed race. I liked it. I hope you like it as well. Anyway, so that is enough in terms of racing. But that's not enough in terms of my talking. I mean, that will be enough in, well, 2 or 3 minutes. But first of all, I wanted to thank Hype Energy and Elgato Gaming for making this stream possible. It's very good to work with them. Second of all, thank you all of the viewers that came to watch these F3 races. 11, not 12 of them, because as I've said, I was caught by a surprise last week. That's why I couldn't come, which I'm sorry for that, but sometimes you have to not come. You can't come. Also, I think, yeah. So thank you for everyone who showed up, who was the part of the stream. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully my voice and my not the best language. I mean, I'm not, I don't have a terrible English, but sometimes, I lack a few words, but I hope it doesn't really bother you, at least too much. Anyways, so as I've said, thank you everyone for watching this season. Thank you to the drivers for participating. That was a really good season in terms of attendance, figures, in terms of driving, in terms of everything, really. Way better than the last one. And yeah, and thank you, as I've said earlier, to Hyper Energy and Elgato Gaming. Thank you to all watching. Thank you to the drivers. Remember to leave a like, to subscribe, to follow us on the social media. Links are down below in the description. Even links to my social media. So if you really want to get closer to me, you can. You feel free to ask a few questions if you want. Anyways, I think that is it. I also have forgotten to introduce myself at the beginning, but yeah, thank you once again. I was Julio Massa, and well, I will leave you, but with a special outro, because as you may all know, Apex Online Racing will be back with the season number 20 on F1 2020, because now we don't have time to make another season, but we will be back with the season 20 on F1 2020, so watch out for that. Once again, thank you very much to the sponsors, to Hyper Energy and Elgato Gaming. Thank you to you viewers, thank you to the drivers. I was Julio Massa. Watch this beautiful outro, and see you hopefully next season. Good night.